Due to the unpredictability of Lexer's behavior, listener discretion is advised. The VoT Network presents the Voices of Terminus show with your hosts Narnilla, Lexer, and Joshua.
Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show. I'm your host Narnilla, joined by co-host Lex. Say hello, Lex.
Shut up, I'm eating.
And we have Josh with us, my other co-host. Say hello.
Hey guys.
In the background we have the wonderful Shy, as always.
Hello.
We'll be taking questions and talking points as we go through this show of Pantheon Ponderings, which we decided to bring into the mix to help us kind of keep the flow going, keep the torch on. The lights are getting dull, so we decided to come up with this Pantheon Pondering show, which is basically grabbing the questions from Twitter or Facebook, wherever they're posted, that VR put out there to just discuss with the community, with, amongst ourselves and everything. So I don't know if we're back frequently. It all depends on what my PC does and how my internet provider treats me. So this is kind of like a special show. We do hope to be back to our usual schedule of weekly shows fairly soon.
We keep on reminding Yanela to feed his hamster, but the thing never flipping dying. That's the problem.
Yeah, this PC is really on the brink of death. But we'll figure it all out. But yeah, so we're back now.
It could be worse. You could be streaming on Optiplex. Sorry, boom.
So here we go. So we're going to start off with the first tweet that was put out on May 20th. Community debate. If you had the choice to include one thing in a Pantheon pledge, what would it be and why? Bonus question. What would the perfect Pantheon pledge look like to you? So, Josh, we'll start off with you, mate. I'll throw you under the bus because you didn't get to read these.
I think I've got a tire mark on my face right now from being thrown underneath the bus there. So, but yeah, if we have a look at one thing in the Pantheon pledge, I would include a tier-based structure into very similar to EverQuest 2. Where you got certain bonuses on an annual basis based on that pledge. Mm. So if you go in with that pledge, you get certain bonuses that happen on an annual basis through the community, such as things like a foster mounts with speed, things that will help you generally within the game. It doesn't break the game per se. Mm. So that's what I would include within a pledge.
What about you, Lex? While you munch on your...
Something in the game named after you.
That's also a good one.
Whether it be an NPC, an item, a mob, spell, and just something. Heck, you could just put like skull on the ground and you pick it up and it connects your skull. Yeah. I'd be like, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how many organs I need to sell. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yourself?
Me? What would I...
working PC?
Yeah! If I had the choice to include one thing in a Pantheon pledge, what would it be and why? It would be a working PC. There you go.
Pledge to our game, we'll send you a PC. So you can play it.
I don't know. What would I add? Maybe some kind of reward system. Or, the more time you spend playing the game, kind of like get like a throwback bonus, like some kind of currency that you could use to like purchase additional in-game hours or something like that, game time or something that you can. So basically, like a little bonus program. The more time you spend online in the game, you gather these points or something. You can use that to down your costs or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Micah, you are right. They do have a dungeon design one. That is a nice one, but I still think having something after you would be.
Like you're kind of chopping off every now and then. It's like your mic's too far away or something like that.
Try out mess with the gain.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've streamed, so a lot of my stuff's been like turned down or turned off.
So yeah, Shy, what about you? Anything you would add?
I just said it in chat actually. I'd like to maybe for a certain pledge level having a 3D character figurine of your character.
Oh yeah, that's also a good one.
That'll be good.
Getting the 3D print, yeah. I mean,
or at least give somebody the files.
Or the files to actually do it, yeah. To let
or
you
something like that.
That'd be a little more doable, I think, because honestly, you've got all the model information there. You just do your magic, put it in a file that you need for your 3D maker or whatever brand you use.
That's actually a good one from Catharsis 22. Sentence: This is going to rock on a super t-shirt for me. This is going to rock the bad silhouette. I think that should be in there regardless in a pledge package. Signed by Aradun himself.
that should come when you purchase the game.
Yeah, that's a good one. That. Have a look. What else do we have in chat? Fragile Hex, I'd like to see a developmental roadmap. Well, that's something you can't really put into a pledge package. And
well, that Trixton's got a good one.
Who?
Trixton.
What about the Final Fantasy? What's that? 14, where you get an exclusive character creation option like tattoos. That's also good. Additional unlocks for character creation. It's just kind of similar to what Josh said, having like a tiered progression system that you can unlock stuff. Actually pretty good, yeah. Yep, so a Brad McQuaid what Wifu pillow? What that was a Wifu pillow?
It's one of those anime pillows with the picture of the person on it.
No, because I don't need
it's a waifu pillow.
All of a sudden now I got this picture of like a dog going to town on a dog.
Exactly what I was thinking about. Exactly what I was thinking about.
And it's just like, no, please no. Please no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go and move on to the next one, shall we?
Okay.
So on May 22nd, for exclusive first run and behind the scenes images, follow us on our newly launched Instagram account. And Lex, what do you say about that?
Bullshit. What was that?
Lex wasn't happy about that one.
I'm sorry. What I meant was bleeping bullshit. That's what I should have said.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand them going to Instagram to put pictures up there, but they could have done the exclusiveness first runs a bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of other sources where they could have reached out to do that.
Here's what gets me. They could have just said, "See it here first. Join us on Instagram." Or follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
No problem. None whatsoever. But the minute you start saying, like, the only way you're going to get this content is if you're on Instagram, well, I'm just going to flip you the bird.
Yeah, because it is one of those things, especially for content creators and, people in general. Not everybody has a Twitter account. Not everybody uses Facebook. Not everybody's on Instagram. I mean, I'm not even on Instagram. The VoT isn't on Instagram. We never will be because
you don't have a phone?
Instagram's, it's for taking pictures or something like that, as far as I'm concerned, and we're never going to be doing any picture art for us to put something on there. But I can understand where VR are coming from. We put screenshots on there and everything to show off what they're doing.
I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to be a massive D-bag here. Surprise, surprise. I'm really not trying to give them a hard time. But it's just, I don't know if it's, they could have worded it much better, and they could have made it seem much less like a screw you to everybody else. Yeah. Because that's what I see here. If you don't join us on Instagram, screw you.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, well, you can.
Them's fighting words.
Well, you don't have to be logged in though, so that's the positive.
I know, but it's still, you start saying the whole exclusive thing, and that was during the time of Epic with their launcher and all that junk, or their Epic store. It's just, they should have avoided it. Honestly, I think it's just a blunder, a pretty bad one as far as it goes, because let's face it, VR hasn't had a whole lot of blunders. Yeah. So, in the grand scheme of things, this is probably one of their bigger ones.
Yep.
I think it's just a very clumsy way of trying to get new followers and new people involved into the game. They could have done a lot more better, I think.
Yeah, they could have, marketed it, a way of like, hey, help us get on Instagram and spread the word, because, and don't forget, the Instagram community is completely different. It's a completely different outline of people there as well. There are quite a few common gamers out on Instagram, but in the end, it's more the common folk, the people that don't game so much. So there is something to gain from doing that. But, they could have involved the community a lot more with this and kind of had a promotional thing to it to kind of get people interested and get people pushing there.
Like I said, Instagram is a popular platform. So, they should be on there because you're trying to reach as many people as possible. It's how they did it that was just horrible.
Anyway, let's go move on to some brighter things. I put this one in for Lex. Lex wanted this in there, so we put it up.
Is it yarn in a bright yellow banana hammock?
In a banana hammock.
May 23rd. Hot topic. Quest and content rushing. Do you take your time and soak up the quest content lore, or do you power through to gain the XP, loot, and move on to the next one?
I hate these questions.
We'll start with you, Josh.
I hate questions like this, to be honest. Simply because I hate content rushing, but I'm inevitably try and do that when I first start because of the hype, because of wanting to get there with the guild, with the rest of the guys.
Wanting to stay up top and stay up, in current affairs. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but that's at the end of the day, that's a lazy philosophy and concept that's intruded or stuck into MMOs. It's part of this is a give and take situation really with content rushing. Why do people do it? Because they want to be up front. They want and because of the term end game, and that's something VR have been very adamant about, is that there shouldn't be any end game. The raiding, boss encounters, storylines, everything should matter regardless of what level you have. So there's really no need. There shouldn't be any need to rush. Interesting is where it's going to be very interesting to see this with alts and alternative characters that you design and do. Depending on how the game is designed, you could end up rushing, because if you've done it 1,000 times, it's always the same thing over and over again. There comes a point where you just skip half the content. You go to the good areas where the XP is brilliant, and you rush through till you hit max level. I hope that's something that's not going to happen. I hope each experience with a different character will bring me a different experience on how the game's approached and received by myself. What about you, Lex?
Yeah.
I don't think this is a question for the player. This is a question about the game. If the game is designed in a way that they don't care about the low-level content, they don't care about the quest, then people aren't going to do them. They're just going to rush through.
Yeah.
If everything you have to do, or anything that's interesting and entertaining, goes into the max level range, then people are going to rush there because it's where they want to be. They want to be where it's exciting.
Yeah.
So,
And to be honest, just to take it back one step, is that the importance of leveling with your group and where the game is built around questing with a group of people where you're meant to enjoy yourselves. I guess that rush is not that important. So I think it's more important to go with a group that you know, a group that you want to run with, and move through the game at your own pace.
Yeah, but that kind of ties into, it's kind of both sides of that coin now with what Lex said and what you've just said. It comes that point where, at the end of the day, Lex is right, very right. This is more.
Someone record that.
This is more a question towards a developer. What do you? How much value do you put into your own game, into your own product, into your own design? How much love and passion and sweat is put into the whole world building, the whole quest mock-up, the mechanics of how everything behaves? It comes down to how much thought and how much of the process has been put into the designing of the game. If it's something that, like Lex said, is just designed very poorly, then people are going to skip most of it. And those are things that I hope that developers nowadays would take a look at, and if they see a quest line or a zone be uninhabited or less popular, or where it should be fairly popular for that level range or something, that they go back into that and take a look at their design there and mock it up. Or, fix the quest, change the quest out.
I would think it would be pretty interesting if the developers had a structure in the game that allowed them to, on the keying of the keyboard, to actually put a mob in there that'll just basically spawn, and people need to get to it, and just to build up a zone, as you say, if it is dead. And have some sort of a society build up there all of a sudden. So if it's becoming a barren zone, a new society of goblins starts building there or starts developing in that area. So yeah, that would be a good thing.
I will say, Fragile, he was saying, people want to go. If people that want to go fast are going to go fast regardless of how cool or how much lore is in the area or whatever. I mean, that's absolutely correct. There's going to be a certain group of players that are going to just go,
try and get through as fast as possible. Yeah.
But I mean, that's also how they enjoy games. They enjoy seeing if they can push themselves to get from level 1 to 50 and how fast they do it, or to be the first to take down stuff. That's just how they play. When I say it comes down to more of the design, I'm talking for the average Joe.
Yeah.
Your standard run-of-the-mill person, where myself, I used to be one of those go people.
And the thing is as well... Sorry, Lex, for butting in.
No, I'll say, and nowadays when I'm playing a game, if the lore catches me, or the quest story catches me, or the overarching story catches me, then I will read it. I will be immersed in it, and I will enjoy it. But if I find it boring and monotonous and just not worth my time, I'll skip it and just go.
Yeah, and that's also a double-sided coin as well, because that's going to come down to the design of the game as well. If they put the mechanics in there and ways for people to rush, people are going to do it. It's just the natural human behavior. They're going to try and find each shortcut, each way to get there, to be top of the range leaderboard, ranking those leaderboards in the top tiers. And that's also another conception that we as players have brought into the MMO genre. It's our fault that this is happening, because we allowed the designers...
Is it our fault, though?
Well, it is, because
no, I think the designers...
my fault.
The designers themselves have given in to people's whining. And that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, but but it goes both ways, though, Josh. It's our fault because we accepted it and let it flow. So everybody basically, every designer out there has now, taken on this golden nugget, because hey, guess what? We can do it this way, and people are still going to enjoy our game. they might bitch and moan and complain about this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, they're still going to play our game. And it's also us, for not pushing developers to do a lot more. There's so much they can do with these games nowadays. It's insane how much they could do. It's just a matter of how much time and willpower they're willing to put into it to fix these problems that are out there.
Right. I think this particular question is actually a multifaceted kind of issue here, because it falls into the category of there's no one thing that's going to make everybody happy.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
You can never do that.
Because everybody's going to be different. The majority of your casual players are going to want to have the lore and the quest stories and everything to get really immersed. Then you get into your more hardcore gamers where they just want the challenge. They don't find quests challenging. And I understand that. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I think this one, we're going to put it in the category of different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if the challenge is there and the structure of leveling is correct, I think that it is something people enjoy in the most part. But anyway.
Let's move on to May 27th, shall we? Community debate. Dungeon finders. Player spam in chat. Dedicated group raid forums or something else entirely. How do you prefer to form or join groups in-game? And I'll start with this one.
Mm-hmm.
We've already discussed this. We've had a discussion on this. I would love to see billboards in-game. Taverns be a place to hook up with other fellow players and stuff like that, where people can put up a flyer on a billboard in any major city, any village, that's got civilization of some sort, where for that zone, that area, people can set up what they're looking for. And people can go to these billboards and see, somebody's wanting to do a group, and these are things with a system like this, you could plan in advance. You could put down a weekly schedule if you do it weekly, or a monthly schedule, for the entire month. Put down, I want to do this day, that this day, this day, and people can go there and look and hook up with people. I think that'd be a cool thing to see from an in-game perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it would be a unique idea.
Dungeon finders, there's definitely a no from all three of us, that's for sure. But I do think that I like Jan's view of it, going to taverns. The only problem is with taverns is it forces everybody to geographically locate to one position, to one point. And that can be problematic for the people out there who just want to go in the wild and just group up with somebody that they come across, well, not even come across, but if they find a challenge over there, they want to actually get their guild, a pickup group to maybe sort it out. You
could add additionally as well on top of this. I think WoW did it, and EverQuest 2 have got it and everything. The in-game calendar. In a combination of having an in-game calendar that you can pull up, and having the option as well from a immersive standpoint, if you're in some area zone, there's a bulletin board to hook up with people on the fly, or to just check in advance. But also going through a calendar, you pull up a calendar and you can see all these different events listed there, rather than having a dungeon finder, because dungeon finders are terrible, especially the ones that I've witnessed over the years. Where your LFG, you're looking for a group for XYZ dungeon or whatever, and you're running around doing who knows what the hell you're doing, and all of a sudden you get zoned, and then the time you get there, they've already ran off, they've started the zone, they've started to rush through the dungeon. It's this is really no fun at all.
Yeah, but I could see, for instance, they are going to. Oh, I think your mic's dropped or something like that. Your mic you just went dead there for a second. But I was just thinking that at the beginning of the caves, there are going to be plenty of people just sitting around spamming for pickup group. Can I join somebody, or looking for this cleric, looking for that, etc. So there are going to be bottlenecks, I reckon, or places where you can pick up where people will just be hanging around, I reckon.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like taverns or things like that, but there will be areas where people will naturally gravitate to and just sit around waiting.
To add to this, though, right, in a lot of games, a lot of MMOs, group finding, do you think that should be tier restricted, or should you be able to communicate with any tier when it comes to group finding? Remember, like in EverQuest 2, you couldn't search for a group, max level if you was on a toon that was like in the low teens or something like that. So you missed out on all the group finding and dungeon stuff and whatever from your main character, for instance. Do you think there should be restrictions like that, or should it just be like zone-based, area-based restrictions?
I think that you can join with anybody you like, but if the range is too great between yourself and maybe somebody that's maybe 20 levels lower than you or 20 levels higher than you, neither one of you are going to get XP.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in chat.
Oh, sorry. No. That means nothing to me. I mean, I think you should be open to chat to everybody. Everybody should be able to chat with anybody, I reckon.
What about you?
That's my feeling.
Well, in terms of dungeon finders, to me, a dungeon finder is where you enter a queue, join a dungeon. That, to me, is a dungeon finder. I'm going to say terrible because they've never been done correct. They've always been thrown together kind of haphazardly and never from a perspective of the player's experience. Just a get them in, get them out, let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no. Unless someone's willing to put in the time to do it right.
Yeah. And the thing is... Go on. I was just going to say, basically, and this is another question where... This is where I would prefer to see multiple choice. Give us options here. There's going to be people that do like the Dungeon Finder. There's going to be people that do spam chat. There's going to be people that want to have it, dedicated to either group or raid forums, this and that. Let those all be options that people can do, but let that also be options that people can turn off from in-game or turn on.
See, here's the thing. Like, near the end of my EverQuest group, that's where they were kind of at. You had people in a zone shouting in a zone, I'm looking for a group to do this or do that. You had the LFG tool, which was literally just if you're a group leader, you can say, I'm looking for more, here's what I need.
Yeah.
If you were a player, you can say, I'm looking for a group, I want to go here. It would list everybody there that has a spot for your class and your level. Honestly, to me, that was like, not too flashy, not a ton of functionality, but it's enough to make it useful. I liked it.
Well, you're a minimalistic person anyway, so.
I am. Admittedly so. I am a minimalist.
You always wear t-shirts without fucking...
Right.
Sleeves.
It's wasted fabric. It's why I don't wear pants. I'm trying to save the environment, and no one realizes it.
You're trying to scare the environment if you're not wearing pants.
But I digress. Honestly, the old LFG tool, that is kind of like your bullet board system, where you basically just posted what you were doing, and you just had an access. You had the ability to access it from anywhere.
So let me go and add one more to this before we move on. We know in a lot of common, the bigger games out there, especially the games that tend to lose their player base, they tend to open up their dungeon to multiple servers, and then you start having an LFG tool, an LFG finder, a dungeon finder, that basically puts you together with anybody all over the world, from no matter what server it is. what about something like that? I have to say I hate that.
Killing me.
That is just so bad. You know, it's like, you know, talk about desperate and...
You know what? Rather just merge the servers then, if
Right.
that's going to be your situation.
Well, that's the thing. When
because you lose the immersion at the end of the day, don't
Right.
you?
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it's actually, it fractures your server community. You're no longer looking to make friends on that server. You're no longer looking to meet interesting people. You don't, because you don't have to.
Yeah.
Even if you were like a necromancer in EverQuest, you still wanted to meet people, at least a little bit, because there's going to be a day where you just don't feel like soloing. It happens. And this person, you know, it's just this little prick in the back of your head where you're like, I'm going to need somebody else someday.
Yeah. I mean, I've experienced
with that whole cross-server thing, you don't ever need anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares?
I mean, I got thrown into groups where all they did was speak Russian, or you had like the Russian text, so you couldn't read it, or Chinese. You know, it's like, what am I doing here? You know,
right?
Expecting to get thrown together with people that speak your language, which was back in that day German. You know, so I can actually communicate with people. You get thrown together with people from China and from Russia. And it's like,
well, that's the thing. That's why I say that dungeon finders are never done right.
Yeah.
Because they don't think about these things. They don't care about the player's experience. What if an English person gets thrown into a group with, you know, 4 French guys? I mean, it's fine if the English person knew French or the French people knew a little English. You know, there is a way to communicate. Or if you had the Final Fantasy 12, that was the first online one. They had a fantastic keyword system that you could use that translated between the languages of all the clients. So you could literally say, pulling, target, get ready. And because you use these keywords, everybody saw it in chat in their language.
Yeah.
I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
It is a clever system. I just hope that it all depends on how the server...
11, sorry, it was 11.
Their server approach is going to be done, but that's a topic for a different day. Anyway, let's move on.
We're sidetracking. Time to get rolling.
May 30th. Scenario. Oh, this will be good. You are clearing through a tough part of a dungeon when the group sets up camp to take a quick 5-minute break. You start playing around with your abilities and accidentally evacuate the group out of the dungeon. What do you do?
Blame Lexer!
I love this. I love this where that was one of the funniest things that EverQuest 2 used to have. Is you used to get that hammer that would teleport you.
Oh,
and you're going to the first fight.
The over there hammer.
You forgot to take it off. And...
Yeah, but the thing is, though, that
lost so many main tanks on our raid.
But that only pointed the individual out.
Yes.
But still, you were wiping after that because you used to go to Vision's Peak, basically, and start the raid there.
Yeah.
Well, funny story. That actually happened to a buddy of mine while he was tanking in TOV and EverQuest, which at the time was like, the end-all be-all raid area.
Yeah.
And they were fighting a dragon. For some silly reason, he never actually swung his weapon on trash. He just had this, like, a problem with hitting trash. He's like, it's below me. But he actually hit auto attack when he was fighting a dragon and just went, poof, gone.
I mean, that's happened to me with Josh and Shy as well. I had that fucking stupid hammer on. We're doing something.
That was freaking hilarious, too.
I'm hitting, and I disappear. But I remember the very early days of EverQuest 2. I had a ranger, and you get evac with level 20 or something like that. And it was zone-based, which was really, really cool. You enter the zone, I was like, instead of me trying to forget everybody gathered and coordinate with everybody, I used to just press evac and boom, thundering docks, thundering steps docks, boom, everybody's there. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a fight or doing this or doing that. It's like, I'll get you guys. They obviously changed that after a while for obvious reasons. I used to be a jerk like that, instead of waiting, boom, evac. It was brilliant. But I've done that.
Let me go sell my stuff, evac. You son of a...
But, right, for those of you, I mean, Josh, I'm sure this has happened to you as well, where you accidentally evac'd and Lex or something.
Yeah,
What was your go-to excuse, though?
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, guys, that was my fault. I forgot to take the hammer off. Bad me.
I used to come up with these crazy stories like, as soon as something like that happened, you know what I did? I pushed the power button on my PC, so I go link dead. Right? then I'll wait 10-15 minutes, turn my PC back on. I don't know what the hell happened. Power went out, my keyboard, froze and everything, and we got evac. I don't know what the fuck happened. My PC was just, boom.
See, that's good to have cats because you can blame it on the cat.
See, with Yarn, that is some next level guilt dodging right there.
Exactly.
Because I'd always
blame.
I'd always be like, shit, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, guys. Or I didn't like you jerkbags anyway.
Yeah, I used to.
But the worst is when the actual raid leader actually says, "Now remember to take off your hammers." And obviously people have just gone into AFK and whatever they come back and they're still hit with their hammers. Then they're really jerks.
But the worst are those though when you're in the group, and I mean we've had this happen. We're fighting these encounters, Josh, in EverQuest 2, and we're having a difficult time. He's going down slowly, and then all of a sudden the tank gets knocked, and the healer's almost dead, and you've got that twitchy guy. You've got that twitchy wizard or that twitchy ranger, scout or something that pushes the evac button, even though we explicitly say, do not evac, no evac, and they just push it, twitchy fingers. It seems to be something with people that play these kind of characters that have evac that, While we did try and teach our people to kind of have like a gut feeling for when they should use evac in intense situations, it never worked out because they would always. I mean, we've done it where we had the mop down at 1%. We were on a raid 1% and boom evac because he put out an AE and half the raid's dead. It's like evac. It's like that was the wrong situation. That was not a call for situation for evac, but yeah, it's definitely cool. Yeah, but
right. Well, see, in this situation, if I was the one who actually evac this, I'd do something like, I was starting to get lonely, or I would make up some form of excuse to make people laugh about it, rather than have them get upset.
Yeah, nowadays I'd use the Debra story. I told them this Debra just came running at us, so I just pushed evac. Anyway.
Let's
move on to the next one. So the next one was June 1st. Would you rather have your character permanently silenced or suffer a permanent 20% speed buff? Right, so this one I've got to ask. What do they mean by permanently silenced? Can I cast spells or?
You're a caster, yeah. I reckon that's what they mean. It all depends what character you have, isn't it?
Yeah, it depends on what character you've got, really.
Because I think if you don't have a caster type character, I'd take the silence every day of the week.
I think.
Yeah.
As I say, you are absolutely correct. It still comes down to what you play. Josh plays the monk.
Exactly.
He don't need to use his mouth to punch you in the face.
Exactly, and it's even better if I'm silenced because you'll never see my fist coming.
Right.
You'll never hear me move.
Right.
Back of the head.
Yeah, and with Yarn, he's going to go with the attack speed buff because he's a healer, and meanwhile everyone else in the group's going to wish he was silenced.
Well,
the thing is, though, right? The thing is,
sometimes I wish he was silenced in real life.
And this is also another situation, right, where every druid would take the 20% speed debuff. Because I'll just buff that back up. I'll put that 20% back up there. I got no problem doing that.
See, where this question actually gets real tricky is with those hybrid style classes. Your Dire Lord, your Paladin, your Rangers. Then you start getting into some mucky waters here. Or in Pantheon, does silence prevent you from using any skill?
Yeah, that's the other question as well, you know.
That's true.
Because we don't really know. And so it's like,
No, and then
I think in the end,
does the speed actually? Sorry, Lex, continue.
I was gonna say, in the end, as much as I want to say the silence would be fine, I've got that sinking suspicion that it will stop some of my Dire Lord abilities. So I'm going to go with the attack or with the speed buff, because then I can just tell myself, I'm a slow-moving, unstoppable object.
But here's another question about the permanent 20% speed debuff. Is it also weapon speed? Does it happen? Does it affect your weapon speed as well? Maybe.
Right. We need clarification.
Or even cast speeds.
Yeah, cast speed
so
as
now
well.
Your heal, it normally takes you 10 seconds to put that heal out, that big one. Now you've got 20% less. It's going to take even longer. So that might be that's a trigger happy question that needs a bit more detail for this to be a perfect.
Who at Pantheon do you actually think wrote this stupid comment for the day? I would say it was Madorki, I reckon.
Hey now.
He hasn't worded that properly.
Oh, Josh, stop bashing on people.
Everybody knows that of almost everybody at VR, Madaki's is pretty high up on my list of respect.
Now that's actually I think Ronek wrote this.
It was Kilson.
That explains everything.
That explains it all.
Yeah. Right, so let's move on to the next one, which was June 3rd.
Oh wait, no, Madaki's saying it was Kilson. So we're gonna chalk that one up to some Fosters.
So, hot topic: unique and ultra rare loot. Jump in and have your. Okay, so hot. Lex, you should read these, dude.
Why?
What can we talk about this? Unique and ultra rare loot. Right, would you like to see unique and I'll reword this. Would you guys like to see very unique and ultra rare loot in game?
Yes.
Yes, I think it drives the community towards something and events as well, and I think that it really gives some people things to play for. So you always want to go for that special sword that might be floating around somewhere. I might be needing special robes, monk robes, for instance.
I mean, we've talked about unique and ultra rare loot anyway. We've had this discussion up and down. And
we've even talked about item evolution.
Yeah, so we're definitely for unique and ultra rare loot in so many ways that we don't have the time to explain. Maybe we'll research.
That's another show.
We'll talk about this later when VR starts to release more on the policies of loot and all that good stuff and how it's all going to work and what options are available. I'm sure there's going to be topics where we jump on to more talking points on a specific subject. So let's move on to the next one, which is June 6th. Community debate. What is best? This could be a trigger. Melee, ranged, or magic?
I've got the only answer that you ever need to hear. Melee. Because that's when you know you got some cojones on you. When you're nose to nose fighting something.
And
instead of standing 4 blocks that way,
right,
whipping pieces of wood at them.
In a fantasy game, right? Melee, hands down. I'll tell you why. In a fantasy game, anything's possible. You shoot an arrow at me, I just flick it away with my sword, or put my sword in the right thingy and it bounces back off. Magic. I've got a sword that can basically suck up that magic, or mace that can whip it back at you. Melee all the way in a fantasy game.
For me, unfortunately, magic is probably the worst, because magic should be something that is without any limits, but because the game is in its own system and has its own limitations within the game, you only got certain spells. So
ultimately, what are you talking about? Pantheon has no limitations.
Of course it does.
Visionary realms don't have any limitations. They can do what the hell they want with this game.
When I can cast 15 fireballs with one word, then we're talking.
Right, Josh, that comes down to you learning to, master the magic, the dark arts, the fire arts, the ice arts. You'll be able to cast these 15 fireballs at once, but it's going to take you years of meditation and teachings and going out on long journeys to find the missing pieces to the puzzle of this ancient magical text that you need to reveal that gives you the ultimate spell.
I just want to face roll over the keyboard and cast as many spells as possible.
Just give me a sword, let me gut things, and watch the life drain from their eyes.
No, melee for me as well is probably the best as well.
So let's go on with June 10th. Do you enjoy other spheres like crafting, fishing, and diplomacy, as well as adventuring, or are you a strictly adventurer-only kind of person? Now, I've got to quickly ask, why is fishing, that's part of the trade skills, separated, put out here, worded out
because it is usually considered a secondary or optional craft, because some people do it for different reasons, not necessarily just for crafting. My wife does it because she finds it relaxing.
So I'm gonna say it. I'm for all four and more. And for crafting, fishing's got me really excited in a Pantheon, especially with the added features of finding some treasure maybe, or some ancient manuscripts or something like that you can pull out of the water that a fish has got in his gob or something. So and diplomacy anyways, that's always been cool. So I'll do all spears that are thrown at me if I can, if I enjoy them.
I like all spheres as well.
Not me.
Not you.
Nope.
But fishing,
but
fishing has got to have some sort of a benefit to it ultimately.
Yeah.
I don't care. I hate fishing. I hate it. Fishing was a big deal. Was kind of a big deal in like Torchlight. It was a pretty big deal in Warcraft, at least in the early days. Hated it. Never did it.
Mm.
Actually, no. I did it for I tried. I honestly gave it a 30-minute try, and I was like, I'd rather give myself a vasectomy with a piece of paper.
I think it comes down to the design of the whole mechanic behind it, and how it's what options are put out there for you to do. Because I hated it in EverQuest 2, throwing out that pole just to loot to fish so that you can skill up your trade skill. I thought this is the most boring thing I've ever done. I hate. In real life, I hate fishing. I hate fishing with passion. I've done it twice in my life, and I hated it.
But I think Lex would enjoy fishing if they put dynamite as an option.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You see Lex.
You just throw the stick of dynamite in, and you just walk around the shore, pick up the fish. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm game.
Done.
Hey guys, bang!
Hey yard. Like with crafting, I desperately want to be a crafter. I desperately want to enjoy it, but no game has ever made me enjoy it.
I just see it now. I'm gonna have to try and figure out when the game comes out. We're gonna have to try and get this video done. I've got a video now, a really cool spoof video where Lex is with his Dire Lord in this pond or lake or whatever, right smack in the middle, standing there, waving over, hey guys, and then he kind of kneels down. It's like he's sitting down on the toilet, and then we'll have a stick of dynamite blow up underneath him and then shoot him up into the sky. I'll have to see if I can do something like that.
I will say, the diplomacy system of Vanguard, it was a card game.
Mm.
I did enjoy that at first, but eventually I got kind of tired of it because it never really changed.
So,
so I'm going to say I'm an adventurer.
Yeah. I mean, diplomacy. I didn't really try it out long in Vanguard. Now, diplomacy for me, the way I would love to see it happen is that's actually a play style you can take on, where you go to all these different cities and villages on the outskirts and learn, you get to learn all these different tribes and whatnot from in-game, these different factions. And that's where diplomacy comes in, where you might be able to gain some benefits for your guild, or better prices, or a better fame and well-being within a society. That's where I would like to see diplomacy kind of kick in, where you kind of like banter back and forth and set up like trade deals and no war deals and stuff like that. That's where I would like to see diplomacy kind of come in. Where
my idea of diplomacy is shut up or I'll get you.
Well, that's also another one. Diplomacy, for instance, diplomacy should be in every tavern. VR, please. Add diplomacy in every tavern, where it's like, you can try and diplome your way out of this bar fight that's about to happen. Kind of like a small little mini game where diplomacy could maybe get you out of this little problem you're about to have, where you get a fistful of Alexa.
There's no diplomacy skill high enough.
Anyway, let's move on.
Catharsis says, if the Dire Lord had to his epic quest, please capture the picture with Lex fishing. Please.
Yes.
If you can find it, I will sign it for you.
Yeah, that'll be a unique card or something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Oh, that would be also another. Getting back to I think it was one of the first questions about the pledge packages. That would also be a pretty cool thing to do, where you collect like playing cards in game, unique playing cards. So remember Legends of Norat?
Yeah.
Having something similar to that, where you play the game and through achievements and stuff, you can get like special cards and everything. If they ever do something like that, that'd be pretty cool to see. And even if it's just something that you can print out and play for yourself or whatever, or hang up on the wall. So
That would be cool.
June 13th. In one word, describe your feelings towards raiding. One word. Josh.
Loot.
Party!
Loot.
Chai, what about you? One word.
Just one?
Yes.
Yeah, just one.
Oh gosh. Awesome.
Okay. You guys out there? Madoki's
Madaki's saying raiding is life.
That's
yes, Daddy Blaze.
No. He said raiding. I paraphrased.
Let me try and find a word that's like 50 symbols long in Hindu.
You just
or
have to
something
say
like that.
Oh God. Please no.
Right, so we want to June 20th. In one word, describe how questing makes you feel. Excited.
It all depends. I've got so many words for it. If it's done well, cool. If it's done badly, snore.
I'm going to have to say anxious. Just because I want quests to be... I want them to pull me in. I want them to grab my attention. And I got to say, with the exception of a few, almost every quest I've ever done has been a steaming pile of crap.
Yeah.
Guy?
Informative.
You know what? If those quests help build towards something in the raid, like some sort of a code that you have to maybe push different types of rocks, but you find the information through the actual quest line up to that raid or something like that, so it helps you defeat that boss at the end, then maybe it's interesting that way.
Those are things like, that's another, that's a multi-way system. That's how I kind of look at the whole quest quest build up and everything, because for a lot of people they are boring. It's just a means to an end. It's an artificial input for some people. It's an artificial input just to kind of like, you know, get them going or whatever. But you know, quests in general can be so much more. They tell the story of the game. They tell a story of a certain event or a feature or a building or an encounter. Fact, you name it, doesn't matter. It tells something. But most of the time, in a lot of the, you know, earlier games, current, you know, present, everything, so many quests were just like, you know, why do it like this? Just because you guys don't have the creativeness to do something more smarter or have a different way of approaching this whole... I mean, it's like gathering, go kill 10 rat quest. Go kill 10 rat quest. Go kill 10 rat quest.
See,
you know, the whole build up to it, you know, add a lot more to that. Instead of, you know, just running up to the NPC, here's your 10 rats. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
I need another 10.
I know we talked about this in a previous episode, but there's the problem with most games right now is that what they're calling quests are actually tasks. Then they should be called tasks.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
when you hear quest, you expect an adventure.
Exactly.
You know, you want to something you could tell your friends about.
Yeah, a quest should be something that has a real backbone story, or it's a series of events leading up to the, you know, to the big reveal or something or whatever. And there again, it's like, you know, this is a multi-system, because what you said about, you know, having something where, you know, you unlock this puzzle to figure out how to kill this mob, you know, easier or something like that. That should, you know, if they do something like that, it should be optional. There should still be a different way to kill that encounter. It might be the harder way. It might be, you know, the easiest way to do it. But things like that, you know, especially if you go into the raiding aspect of things, you could really turn off a lot of people. Because there's people that do not want to do that, no matter what. You know, they're not interested in doing something like that, and puzzles and this, that, and the other. So there should always be options when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, quest should describe something of an event, something that has a major impact. Because that's the other thing as well. Every game screamed, you know, every MMO out there, decide the fate of the world, decide your fate, shift the story, this, that, and the other. Have you ever really felt that your character in the game that you've been playing for years on end made any kind of impact in a game that was reflected back at you in some form or fashion? I haven't.
No, exactly. I haven't either.
You know, and if that's something that they want to do, then they have to make it happen, though. Something has to happen. It has to be seen within the game. It's like, and the way they could do that, we've talked about this as well, is maybe if you have like this quest series going out where, put it simple, you have to destroy this dragon. Now, what we as players don't know is there's a time limit on this. It's set for 2 years, and it requires at least 2,000 people to have done this quest, or 20 raids to have gone and done this, or whatever, right? But if that doesn't happen,
arbitrary number.
Yeah, but if that doesn't happen, the world changes. The dragon escapes, breaks out, and burns down villages. Now, on this server, the villages are burnt down. But on server X, 20 guilds or whatever, or raid forces, or 2,000 people have done this quest series or whatever. They defeated the dragon. Their world's hanky-dory. Because that now starts creating these stories, and people are going to be going like, what's going on? What are these people talking about? Burnt down villages. And
there's very few games that actually do that. One game would be Inquisitor Martyr that I play. Bit of a hub-based hack and slasher, but anyway. When they first released, they did an event where you had to cleanse 5 planets of enemies.
Yeah.
And everybody that was playing the game, we had to kill so many thousands of basically this type of enemy on these planets.
Yeah.
We failed. I think we cleansed 3. We never cleansed the other 2, although we were close. And those 2 planets were removed from the game. Just gone.
Mm.
Mind you, there's like a couple hundred that you can go to, but well, at least it feels like that. It's probably in the vicinity of 30, 40. But anyway, the fact that they're gone now.
Yeah, so we've got 2 more. We'll do 2 more, and then we'll basically pick up the rest for the next Pantheon Ponderings show, which we'll be doing, every 4 weeks or whatever. Gathering the posts that I put out there from VR and this, that, and the other, and we'll basically pick up on the next show, which will be maybe in 2-3 weeks time or whatever. So next question is from June 24th. Hot topic: experience modifiers. What are your thoughts? So I've got to ask, because this is a term that I'm not used to, or I haven't really heard that much. What do they mean by experience modifier?
Modifiers like hot zones in EverQuest.
Right, okay.
Stuff like that, or possibly experience bonus pots where it's like, oh, you get 50% more experience while this potion is on.
Or if this event is on, double your speed.
So it's like in EverQuest 2, when you reach max level. Eventually, you can now push the slider into AA points and stuff like that. No, I wouldn't want to see something like that happen. Because the thing is, people that start out with the game, right? We've all done that. We've all been there. EverQuest, EverQuest 2, World of Warcraft, you name it. The way we experienced the game back then, and the way it's evolved now, obviously, due to all kinds of circumstances, but they should never try and make a game easier because people are complaining. And what people went through back in the day, why shouldn't people do it now? Why should there be modifications, experience modifiers, where they add in hot zones? This is all brought into their games because they're losing people. People are unsubscribing to their game, moving on to different games because the game has gotten boring. Because either it takes too long for an expansion pack to come out, or it's just dull programming. There's so many factors that go into this to bring.
There's also another reason
modifiers.
For it, There's another reason for it, and that's if the game is 7-8 years down the line, and you've got new people coming in. Well, you do want them to catch up with their friends. If their friends have brought them in, that type of thing, they do want to actually play with their friends. So I think that how you do it, how the game actually deals with it, is another thing.
Yeah, it all comes. That's a different matter. That's a completely separate matter when it comes to this.
But it's an XP modifier, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, right? If my friend comes in 5 years down the road, do you want to do him the de-justice of rushing through the content and not experience the game that you experienced, to go through all these zones and these quests and storylines and this, that, and the other?
Yeah, but let's also look at the reality of what Pantheon's trying to achieve. They don't want people to get to end level within like a month type of thing. They want people to take a journey of 3 to 6 months maybe to get to that end level. Do you want your friend to be taking 3 to 6 months to get to your level so you can actually play with him?
Well,
and by that time he's lost interest.
Yeah, but you can still play with him.
How?
You create an old Josh and you play with that dude.
So your guild must suffer then because you want to mess around with him. Type of thing. So there's you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the thing is, right, that should never be an excuse though for an experienced modifier to come in. That comes down to the mentoring system. Having a friend come in is mentoring system. It has nothing to do with the experience modifier. I shouldn't have like, we're going to go and do this, that, and the other. And most of the time, the experience modifiers, these hot zones and everything, only come into high-end impact when you're max character. So you couldn't do that dungeon with him anyway, regardless, because they don't have. Most of these games ignore the lower levels. dungeons because nobody's doing them. So why put in experience modifiers in the lower tier dungeons anyway? It's kind of obsolete.
Yeah, all I'm saying is experience modifiers can also mean the mentoring type system. Yeah. So if you're strictly looking at it and you're saying the mentoring system isn't part of what they're asking over here, then for me it's a no. But yeah, the mentoring system is kind of an experience boost there.
Lex sitting there all quiet. Go on, Lex. Rip it out.
It's not that experience modifiers are bad. It's how they're used that can be bad. I like the idea of hot zones. I don't like what they become, but I like the idea because it helps make more or less derelict zones breathe new life into them. Or you could use that as a way to modify a zone, make it a hot zone, and now people go and realize, oh my God, things have changed. Without actually coming out and saying that you've done it. It adds to the excitement and the surprise of the whole system. That's a tool for the developers to use to enhance the experience. I mean, when you get into the realm of, say, experience pots, that's bad because when you start adding stuff like that, you're inches away from adding a cash shop item for that because they're going to be in high demand and the greed. I'm not going to say that VR is greedy. I'm not going to say that they're going to turn greedy because anybody given the right price will turn greedy. So can you blame them? No. So why even put that temptation there? You know, just avoid it.
I mean, hot zones, for instance, you know, the way that I would love to see that done, you know, there's multiple ways they can do this. Is mix. You know, this is like a mix. Like we've talked about this, where NPCs in-game are battling against each other. Factions are fighting each other. Now, BDK gets taken over by what was it? The Orcs in Avendir's Pass. The Orcs run riot on Black Rose Keep. They take it over, and now that becomes a hot zone because now the Orcs are inside Black Rose Keep. That's a great way to do a hot zone thing, for instance, where unique loot or unique items or unique bosses in that zone, so people are going to flock to it, and you know that's the same with all their dungeons that they've got out there. It's a great way to keep all of them alive by having even the NPCs fight each other and the world, like Brad's always put it out there. He wants to create a world where the world feels immersed from the get-go. And it's programmed immersively, you know, because it's basically almost like a virus in the game. The game itself is constantly shifting and changing. It's persistent. When you log off, things are still happening in that game that you're not aware of. You know, factions are fighting each other, and rats have befallen this cave or whatever, or the city's befallen by monsters, and all kinds of stuff happens. And it's a constant change for you. That's where I think development should be pushed towards. When people talk about, or you know, developers talk about, they want to create really immersive and groundbreaking games and everything. That's the way to go.
Well, I also think you should have a log-off state as well. A log-off state. So when you log off, you can set yourself to patrol or set yourself to craft or something like that. And when you come back, you've maybe got a little bit more XP in that area or a little bit more crafting item, just like your rested XP type of thing. But do a little bit more nuancing.
Slow, like molasses rolling uphill, kind of slow. Because I will say, like the rested XP in World of Warcraft, where you had to log out and in, you came back, you had rested XP.
Yeah,
I hate to admit it, but that was a very good system. I liked it.
Yeah,
I didn't often use it because I played the game like a freaking addict, going for his next fix.
That's actually great.
It was good.
That's actually a great way as well to kind of help those people that can't play 8, 16, 12, 24 hours, 7 days a week. To kind of, you know, still get something out of their as minimal playtime that they have. Getting that little extra boost when they're logged, they can select a state that they're in, that they want to push a little bit, and they get that little hint of a bonus. But obviously, what should never happen though is it goes ding while you're off.
Yeah, of course, you should be just before that ding, basically.
Yeah.
So what does Marcus say? Just read that. I liked in FXXR where you level cap, you have merits and further power up your character and learn certain abilities and spells. But sink down as far as you want to the level and play the high levels ones. Yeah, that's a good system.
Yeah, I mean, it gives a high level people a reason to go down to mentor with these lower levels, which is great. You're basically mingling your vets with your new players, which is usually a pretty good idea, because if person or the vet is actually a good person, they're going to be telling these new players all the exciting things that they're going to be doing, and oh my god, you're going to love this, look at this fancy gear, and it just hypes those new players. It's great.
Yeah.
What it comes down to is, as long as that level alteration puts people on the same level and still effectively maintains the challenge.
Yeah.
You've got EverQuest 2, where whoever designed that system never understood math. It's like you could take any higher level character, mentor down to a lower level, and you're still soloing an entire dungeon at that level.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you never thought to test this. This is definitely wrong. But yeah, so EQ2, definitely wrong. I haven't played FFXI in quite a while. In fact, I don't think I've ever gotten past level 12. But everything I hear about their systems, they sound like they're designed very well. So I hope VR can look at these other games and kind of like do stuff like the mentor.
Pick out the good stuff, yeah.
Do that. Spend the time. Do it right. Because
but I would forgive them if that wasn't something they're focused on right now, and that's something that they did down the line. There
isn't really a reason to focus really hard on it right now. It's good to get that information out there. Because it's one of the big questions.
I think.
But
what would be great though for VR is things like this. When the game's released, coming out and setting additional goals that the public can see, that hey, what do you obviously get feedback from people to see, what is a hot system, what is a cold system, kind of see where the feelings are, what people think. But I think that's something that they should do. They should pursue that later on when the game's out, and they can do even better with the system that they put in. They strive to do that. They strive to better that system, but also inform us prior to it. Hey, perception system, but we want to do. We're going to go and up this one. We're going to go and add. We're going to add this or the mentoring system. What they can't do now, if they can do it later on and kind of give people a outline of possibilities, they could use the community and the players' experience, to see what to focus on afterwards, after the game's been released and this, that, and the other, where to shift their focuses on certain systems to advance them and stuff like that. Everybody busy typing? What am I missing?
Yes. I'm just answering something in chat. Whenever someone asks for the current state, I kind of feel as content creators, it's very important that we actually take the time to answer these things.
Yes.
In a non-debaggery kind of way.
Well, I was going to say something sarcastic. I stopped myself.
You were asking yourself, what would Lex do?
What would Lex do?
Right, so June 27th, the final one for this show. And it looks like, knocking on wood again, we're getting through this one. Would you rather...
As the smoke rises from the bottom of his camera feed.
Ouch. Would you rather...
Well, this isn't a fair question. I'm stuck with a bad healer no matter what.
Oh, let's
Would
you heal a bad tank or
Shots
tank with
have
a
been
bad
fired.
healer? Right? I think we're going to have to go off air, come back on air for what happens next.
You want another broken arm, don't you?
Right? So, Lex, from a tanking perspective, how do you look at this? What would you rather?
Okay, if I'm trying to look at this from a non-biased point of view, I would say that running with a bad tank is potentially much worse. Because your tank is traditionally the person who sets the pace. They're the one who has to decide if something's too strong, if the group has to, this is as far as we can go, we can try to push it, but we got to go slower. If you got a bad tank that just runs in and just constantly is pulling too much stuff, doesn't matter how good your healer is, you're going to die. Okay? So the potential for that is very high to have a bad day. Whereas if you have a bad healer but a good tank, the tank's going to realize that maybe this healer is not so experienced, and they will adjust accordingly for the group. Because that's a part of tanking.
See? I'm the opposite. Right, coming from a healer perspective, I've actually witnessed this as well. There are tanks out there though that don't shift, that don't change their stance, that don't pay
Stop
attention.
with paladins.
Right? But you are right though. A good tank can kind of set it up, set the standards, slow down the pace, this, that, and the other. But so can a good healer. Having a bad tank, a good healer can balance that all out. Control the pace from the back. So it's basically
it depends.
It's you have to be a healer that's got the balls to actually go and put your foot down and freaking lead from behind. Not everybody can do that. But it can go both ways. But the better one is what Lex said. Have a good tank and a crappier healer.
That's my feeling as well.
Right. I mean, yeah, is it possible for a healer to set the pace of the group? It is. Because you can do things socially in the group to slow things down. So, I need a second. I need this. I got to rebuff. I got to do this. Just to artificially, you could have 10 minutes, 15 minutes left on a buff and say, I got to rebuff. It slows people down because you got a buff. Then you have to regain your mana just to slow the tank down. Because it's like, any tank would be like, okay, my healer needs a minute. I don't want to die,
the thing is, though, right? At the end of the day, having a good healer and a bad tank, he's slowed down anyway. Right? At least from my experiences, what I've had, being in a group and having a tank that is having troubles, that's where you take that step, and it isn't so much the problem of having a bad tank or a bad healer. It's the rest of the group that make the fuss, and it's basically controlling the rest of the environment.
I've got a saying whenever there's a lot of whining going on in one of my groups, because I don't really mean to be pointing this out or to be making anyone feel like they're on the spot, but it's almost always a DPS. Okay, and I always like to say in the groups, less QQ, more pew pew. Basically, stop your crying and hurt things.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. Just do your job.
I mean, we've all witnessed it. You're in a group, and everything's going fine. But there's always going to be that problem, like Lex said, when the healer can't just keep up. But then it comes down to two factors: is it always a bad healer that's the problem, or there's so many. This is a trigger happy would you rather question kind of thing, because there's so many things that go into this. Ultimately, to give the definitive answer from a tank perspective, like Lex himself, or me as a healer from a healer perspective, because you can have a great tank. He knows his stuff, but the dude forgot to take off his crafting gear. And you're wondering why.
I forgot to take off my hammer.
Or take off your hammer, there's so many factors that go into this as well. So it's basically an all-round situation. Always inspect your tank and your healer. If ever in doubt, you'll find a hammer that he shouldn't be having on, or a rope that's specific for crafting or whatever. So whenever in doubt, inspect first and then go about the business. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our first episode of Pantheon Ponderings, which we hope to bring you in regular stances, intersections. We hope you enjoyed this show. We're glad to be semi-back. We don't know how long this is going to last. This could just be a one-off. My PC might have just said, all the whining and moaning and crying.
I know what the problem is. My DDoS pod isn't going.
We do.
There you go.
We do have one burning question, though. So
I know.
guys have time.
I recommend gold bonds.
Yep. So we have one question then from chat. So Shy, shoot away. This is directed at you, Lex.
This is directed at Mr. Pantless Lexer. If Lexer doesn't wear pants during the steam, I have to know from Vishas Gaming. Boxers or briefs, because he is not going to be able to sleep until he knows.
Actually, you're not going to be able to sleep, but I can tell you.
Neither.
Boxer briefs, because I get the support for the boys, but I can still answer the door without getting a harassment suit.
There you go. I told you I'd ask, Vicious.
There you have it, everybody. Yep. Whitey tighties with a hint of sleeve on the sides. Anyway,
Yarn wears bedazzled whitey tighties. Sorry, tighty whiteys, my bad. They're all bedazzled so I can shake his booty. and it dazzles.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this show. It is really good to be back. We've been burning to have a show without issue. And
I keep telling you, whenever you feel that burning, just get some Gold Bond medicated itch powder. Works wonders.
And we'll see you all next week. I don't have at the top of my head what we're going to be talking about, if we have somebody on, what the show's about, but we plan to be back next Saturday, same channel, same time, and we'll see. We'll just basically keep an eye out on Twitter, our Discord for information on that show, should I be able to get the information out there soon enough. But have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see you all next Saturday.
Cheers, guys.
Maybe it'll be my rant next Saturday, and then everyone can be mad at me again.
Yeah, maybe. All right, and take care.
It's the Doom Show.
Have a good weekend.
Stay safe.